What happened to you?
I got maced.
And what happened? You were trying to go inside the Capitol?
I made it like a foot inside and they pushed me out and they maced me.
And why did you want to go in?
We're storming the Capitol. It's a revolution.
White people think that when they cry, or at least this white woman, she thought
White women especially.
that when she cried, that was gonna have some effect. Here's what I gotta say. It just cleanses the palate so well.
Oh.
I need like a
Hydrating.
nice brioche.
Yeah, it would be nice. It's hydrating, isn't it?
Nice little,
A little quiche.
little quiche, little cheese,
something to go, little cheese.
little snackables.
Yeah.
White tears.
Welcome to another episode of Won't Stick to Sports. I'm Cari Champion. That is Jemele Hill. What's up today, my girl?
Oh my God, what isn't up? The news cycle is on steroids right now with all the lies, the blame game going on in the nation's capital between Democrats and Republicans. So we thought we should try to help you, help everybody, right? Navigate all this nonsense. So we have a new segment to break all of this down, and it's called
Truth and Consequences. That's what it's called. So it's real easy. So I say a truth, Jay will say a truth. We'll offer up consequences that are based on the law or maybe a little bit of street justice, no?
I'm down with that.
All right, so let me begin with the everyday people. Over the last week, the rioters are slowly being identified. Now, I don't know about you. I tried to give them the benefit of the doubt. I thought they would be folks I just would not know. I thought they would be people who were degenerates, if you will. However, the more and more we learn about them, it's interesting because they are not. For instance, take a look at this guy with the antlers.
Yeah, I think that's who people think is the person that would be storming the Capitol and thinking
A guy in the antlers. Like, these are people you're like, oh my God, this is crazy. I can't believe them. I would never come across them. Clutches pearls and purse if I see you walking down the street. But that's not the case. I will tell you, these people were a mixture of business owners. There was a CEO from Chicago. There were real estate agents. There were some off-duty police officers, active and retired members of military. Let me not forget the Olympic gold medalists. So this is what I have to say to you. We have to face the truth about political violence. It isn't basically born out of economic depression, dealing with the marginalized. That's what they want you to believe. But the truth is this. Political violence often comes from this white power structure, this ideology. They're fighting to hold on so tight to that structure that they want to let you know it belongs to them. And everyone, no matter who you are, from all walks of life, will join in.
All right, let me get to the consequence. So it turns out they could be facing up to 10 years in prison.
Yeah.
And here's the interesting thing about it, is the person they have to blame is their own cult leader, the president. Because back in June, Donald Trump signed an executive order to prosecute protesters who vandalized government property to the fullest extent of the law. Now, when Trump signed this, of course, he thought, oh, only the black people gonna pay for this, right? They're the ones that will be subjected to this kind of law and order. And those who tore down Confederate statues. And now look at here. Looks like his own law is going to send his supporters straight to jail. Law and order.
Let me tell you something. They need to be in jail for the maximum. You mentioned Donald Trump. I gotta say, I thought this was an inside job, which leads us to our next truth.
Yes, this is a very uncomfortable truth right here. Elected officials conspire to harm their own congressional colleagues. Now take a look at this clip of newly elected West Virginia delegate Derek Evans, who had the caucasity, the audacity to live stream his participation in the insurrection.
The door's cracked. Move! Move! We're in, baby.
And he was not alone. Speaking of co-conspirators, what about the state senator Doug Mastriano from Pennsylvania? Organized transportation for these thugs to go to the Capitol. And then there is Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz, who opposed certifying and doubled down on his lies by trying to shift the blame. More than a dozen current and former GOP lawmakers participated in this insurrection in some form or fashion. So, Jay, listen, AOC delivered that truth serum that we are trying to do right now. She talked very eloquently about what happened on that day in the Capitol and whether or not she could actually trust her peers. Take a listen.
I myself did not even feel safe going to that extraction point because there were QAnon and white supremacist sympathizers and frankly white supremacist members of Congress in that extraction point who would create opportunities to allow me to be hurt.
Let's go back to the West Virginia state legislator Derek Evans, who live streamed himself. Yes, needs to be. He's resigned. But this is an important point. Some big corporate political donors like Airbnb, Marriott, Nike, Google, they have pledged to stop providing funding to the elected officials who refuse to certify the presidential election. In other words, Republicans. So, you know, everybody's talking about unity now. We need to come together. Fuck that unity. You tried to overthrow the government. Gots to go.
And quite honestly, they all need to be in jail. The fact that they were able to walk away that day is still astonishing to me. These are the truths and consequences.
Now let's turn our attention to the traitor-in-chief. Yesterday, the House voted to impeach him again, making him the only president in our country's history to ever be impeached twice. And this leads us to our question of the week. With only 6 days left in his presidency, is the effort to impeach Trump too little and too late?
So, Jemele, I believe we have the perfect person for this. You call her Auntie Maxine. 15-term Congresswoman Maxine Waters. She's been on that impeachment tip since 2016, and she endured so much heat for going after him. Heat is what she actually brought yesterday.
I rise in support of impeaching again. It is reported that the President of the United States watched the invasion and seemingly enjoyed it. And he is capable of starting a civil war. He must be impeached. He must be stopped now.
Congresswoman, thank you for joining us.
Well, I'm delighted to be on the show.
Congresswoman Waters, thank you so much for being here. And is it too late to call for impeachment of Donald Trump?
Well, yes, it is late. However, let me tell you why it's important to do. It's important to do just as it was important for us after they invaded the Capitol to get back to work. Now, that was important in sending a message to the people that we're not going to back down, that we're not going to be intimidated, that we're going to keep going with the work. And that's what this impeachment really turns out to be, a message that you are dishonorable and you deserve to, be impeached. We're going to go after accountability no matter how late it is.
So what's it going to take for all of these Republicans who have stood with him for so long to finally get off this very dangerous train wreck of a bandwagon?
I don't know. Some of them said they're frightened, that they're afraid that their families could be harmed, that they could be harmed. I don't accept that. Not that I don't care that people might get harmed. I don't accept it as an excuse for an elected official. You're elected by the people to represent. And if you're too afraid to do that, go home. The other thing is this. Aside from the fear, racism is at the core of all of this.
Congresswoman Waters, before we let you go, I must ask this question.
Yes.
Do you feel that what happened on January 6th was an inside job?
Well, let me just tell you quickly that I went to our Democratic caucus a few days before the insurrection, and I said, I think we need to be concerned about security. What's the security plan? How's it going to work? And so what happened was they had the chief of police call me. And I spent an hour with the chief of police. I asked him about keeping the plaza clear. I asked him about blocking off the top of the hill in front of our office buildings. I asked him whether or not they were going to have a perimeter that was going to be adequate to keep them, from getting, up, near the Capitol and near our office buildings. And he assured me that they had it taken care of. And so when you ask me if there was anybody complicit in all of this, the more I look at it and the more I hear and the more I think about some of the signs of it, I do think that this is going to be a significant part of the investigation. Not only I want them to start with the police chief, who either lied to me, was incompetent, or complicit. I want them to take the stories from members of Congress who saw people, as one said, doing reconnaissance in our buildings the day before. And so we're going to find out who may have been involved. Many people are saying it's an inside job. And I want to tell you, when I talked to my grandkids, one of whom had worked in Washington, D.C., he said, Grandma, I want to tell you, inside job. Inside job. So sometimes the youngins have a lot of foresight, you know? And so we're going to pay attention. We're going to investigate deeply.
Congresswoman Maxine Waters, thank you for gracing us with your legendary presence.
Thank you so much.
It is such an honor to have you on Won't Stick to Sports with Cari and Jemele. Thank you so much for being here.
You're so welcome, and thank you for having me. I'm just having a great time talking to you.
Yeah.
We could keep you all day.
We could.
We know you have a schedule.
We already know in these streets too.
Yeah.
Protect Auntie Maxine at all costs. We already know. We got your back at all costs.
We'll be right back in just a few moments with WWE legend Stone Cold Steve Austin. Don't go away.